Before we even start, the first lesson in player development is your ability to learn, right? So if you cannot listen, you will not be able to develop, if that makes sense. So that's the first lesson in player development. A story for you. I have a friend, works for the Utah Jazz. They drafted Donovan Mitchell, all right? Donovan Mitchell, when they drafted him, was a little bit too small for a wing and, not really was a traditional point guard, combo guard. That's about 5-6 years ago when they drafted him. I went in, I was watching Utah Jazz Summer League, and this is a front office guy who was talking to me about the Donovan Mitchell decision. When they evaluated Donovan Mitchell, they were wondering, there's not a lot of spacing where he's playing at in Louisville. In our system, he's going to get a lot more spacing. We think he'll be better. They weren't sure. They drafted him. They brought him in. The first day they brought Donovan Mitchell in to practice for Summer League. In the NBA, you do Summer League first when you're drafted. So how many of you have been to NBA Summer League in Las Vegas? Anybody? Okay. So that's where the rookies get their first chance to play, right? But when they get drafted, they get brought into market and they start training. So they brought Donovan Mitchell in, and the first thing they noticed is, hey, Donovan Mitchell was playing everything off 2 feet, all of his finishes. And you notice still to this day, Donovan Mitchell likes to play off 2 feet, more powerful. But they wanted to teach him how to get to finishes more quickly, so how to play off 1 foot and speed finishes. The first thing they did is they brought him in. One of the coaches showed him, player development-wise, here's what we want you to work on. 1 foot finishes, defense is behind you. How do you get the shot off quicker? All that type of stuff. The first practice, they worked with Donovan Mitchell, 20-minute workout. The first team practice for Summer League that they did, Donovan Mitchell started to use the 1 foot finishes that the coaches were working with him on just 30 minutes earlier. Immediately, he started to apply the lessons that he was learning immediately. The front office person who told me about Donovan Mitchell and the decision, because I asked him, did you know he was going to be that good? They said, we didn't know, but what we learned after the first month is all of our coaches agreed that Donovan Mitchell was the most elite learner that we have ever encountered in our Jazz history together as an organization for that group. So the first thing we're going to talk about is player development, but the first part of player development is your ability to learn. Learning is somebody teaches you something, you listen the first time, you apply it, and you put it into your game. Okay? We're going to talk about Jaden Hardy. How many of you have ever heard of Jaden Hardy for the Mavs? Okay. So he came to us from G League Ignite. Okay? He came to us from G League Ignite, and I'm going to get right to his shot chart. This is, Coach Devin was talking about shot value. So this is how we teach our players kind of how they look statistically. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit to these different parts. This is Jaden Hardy. This is his traditional stats right here when he played for G League Ignite. 19 points per game, 37%. You can read it right there. Things that we notice, okay? Coach Ben said that the three-point percentage is 35%, the average. As you can see here, he was at 31%. Okay, averaged a lot of points, but he was very inefficient. When we go down, high volume shooter, to reference what Coach Ben said, but when we go down to his shot spectrum, this is his shots right here. Okay? Somebody tell me what you notice when you look at that little image on the screen. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. Oh, what do we got here? Front row. John.
It takes a lot of threes.
Takes a lot of threes. How do you know that?
Because the numbers, it's like 20, 63.
Yep.
20 to 54.
Exactly. Good. So we're noticing there's a lot of three-pointers taken. Anybody else notice anything else? Yes, ma'am, right there.
He also likes to drive the paint. See, that's the most shot attempts he has in the game.
Most shot attempts he has, 156, okay? So if we look at here, he's got 50, 100, 160, 165, 170, he's got 156 on the goal. So he's kind of a person who gets to the rim and shoots the three about similar amount, half and half. Really good shooters, you'll have them shoot 300 threes and like 30 at the rim. Like if you were like Kyle Korver, right? Really good drivers like Russell Westbrook, you'll probably have like 250 at the rim, and we'll call it 100 from three, right? You'll see a ratio that's different based on your game. So you can see how they play. Anybody else? One more chance. Anything else you notice? Yeah, in the back.
One shot taken from the short corner.
One shot taken from the short corner right here. What do you guys think the blue means? Huh? Cold, right? Inefficient, right? Red, hot, right? More efficient. So we're seeing 37% from the top of the key. So we're doing player development. What we're gonna do is we're gonna say, hey, Jaden, here are your shots. Here's where you score from. So as we look up here, going back to Coach Devin's point about where the shots come from, restricted areas, the rim. 36% of his shots came at the rim, and he shot 45%. Really good finishers in the league. Do you know what they shoot? 65 or more is really good. Above 60 is good. Okay, 73% would be like Rudy Gobert, all dunks. That's really high. It's all dunks. But anybody who's a guard like Steph Curry, he's going to be about 60, 65%. Really good finishers. Okay, so you can tell right here if I'm giving him feedback for player development, you need to work on your finishing at the rim. The first thing to know is to know what you need to work on. Then we have a plan for working on that. Second thing, what else do you notice about his shot chart here? Anybody notice anything else when you look at the allocation here of how many percent of shots is in certain places? What do you notice here in this chart in terms of where is he getting his shots from besides the restricted area and above the break? What's the next most frequent place? What do you got? Yeah.
Long, tough twos.
Long, tough twos. This is the non-paint twos that Coach Devin was talking about. So, when we're talking about how do we make Jaden Hardy a better player, the first step is to teach him to take higher value shots. Meaning, we want you to get to the restricted area more, to the rim. We want you to shoot more threes, and we want to replace the 20% of shots you're taking, which are very inefficient. You're only making 37% of those. We want to replace those with corner threes. We want to get you better shots from above the break. We want to finish at the rim better, and all of a sudden you will end up being a better basketball player by just knowing how to get better shots. So that's our first step in player development, is to teach the value of the shots and what you're taking shots from. So we told Jaden we wanted him to stop taking as many long, tough twos and replace it by getting to the rim and having a better plan in the paint. Okay. Beyond that, we show him other stats. I don't want to get into all this right here, but at the end of the day, NBA role fulfillment, I'll show you this. This area right here is, these are the areas that we think affect the game right here. Shooter, okay? If you're a great shooter, that's obviously affecting the game. If you're a great scorer, maybe you're not as efficient a shooter, but you can score in multiple ways. Every one of these boxes is kind of colored. If we think he's a scorer, it's green because he's really good at that. He's at an NBA level, okay? If he's just okay, he's in yellow, okay? If he's not impactful, he's in red. So you see here, that's where he stands right here before the season. I should have kind of put up his newest stat line at the end of our season, but Jaden Hardy was basically heroic with us in the G League this year, 1 year later. Averaged around 27, 28 per game, shot 45% or more, maybe 50% from three. Took out all those long, tough twos and went from scoring 45% at the rim to finishing 60% or more, okay? He was basically the best player in the G League for the time he was there for November and December, okay? Way more efficient. I asked Jaden, back to Coach Ben's point about spacing, I said, Jaden, you're shooting the ball so much better this year, you're so much more efficient. What's the difference? It's just 1 year. You're still in the G League. Last year you were with Ignite, this year you're with us. It's the same league. What's the difference? He said, the main difference, Coach, is the spacing. We got way more space this year to work with, and that allows me to play better. So again, when we talk about player development, it talks about, the first step is knowing what your game is, where your shots come from. The second part is having a good system, like Coach Devin's talking about, where you actually are getting the right kind of shots over and over. So player development sometimes falls on the coach's part because we have to put you in the right spot so that you can be efficient. That makes sense? So I want you to know player development is a team concept. Okay. Beyond that, I'll move through these quickly. From there, we come up with a plan. We called it the big three. 3 areas that we wanted Jake to get better at for him to be able to play in the NBA. Okay? The 3 ones were shot outcomes, meaning we want better shots. The second one was his defense. He needed to be a better defender. The third one was on-ball playmaking. We wanted him to make better decisions when he got to the paint and created for himself and others. Okay? So when we look at that, this is what we came up with so that, you know, and if you're where you're at, you can even take a picture with your phone. But this is how we graded him on his shots. Okay? We wanted to make sure he had a grading system, just like when you're in school right now and you have to turn in a report, you have a grade. So for Jaden, we want to give him a rubric so that he could grade himself on the quality of his shots. So we based his shot outcomes on 3 things. Shot value. Number 2, contest level. Was he taking contested shots? And number 3, rhythm and balance. Okay, was he off balance? Was he impacted? So those were the 3 things we graded him on. And if he had great shot value, meaning it was a high value shot, not a tough 2, you know, a rim or a 3, he gets a 4. If there was no contest, meaning it was, you know, not heavily contested, that's part of being a 4. And if he had great balance and rhythm, he wasn't taking an off balance shot, he gets a 4. Doesn't matter if he makes it, doesn't matter if he misses it. This is how we graded Jaden because we wanted him to have the tools to evaluate himself on what a good shot is, what a bad shot is. Okay, so this is how we came up to that. Okay, the other thing, and you see the goal here, was we want to create and take high value shots on balance, in rhythm, and with low contest levels. That's what we wanted for him. Okay, what we did, and I won't go through this with you, but I want you to see it. Then we came up with an edit. This is a video edit that we showed him. We showed him examples of bad shots and good shots. We talked about how we were going to train this action, and we talked about how we were going to measure it. So I can talk about, we can show you this. My point in telling you this is there's a plan. His improvement wasn't an accident, it was intentional. And we had a plan, just like when you go to school, you have a plan for learning whatever you do. He got better because we had a specific plan for him on how to make sure he knew what a good shot is and what a bad shot is. Okay? Second one we talked about was defense. And you see the goal here is we wanted him to be a playoff-ready individual and mass system defender. Okay, we needed him to be playoff-ready. Having said that, KYP coverage was the 3 areas we talked about with him. How did he cover? Ben talked about his scouting report. KYP for us is know your personnel. We want him to be able to know the personnel. The next thing we wanted him to be able to do is his talk and his technique needed to be great on defense. Okay, and thirdly, we wanted him to finish the play, meaning he didn't box out, he didn't contest shots. I got on Pablo's today about not contesting a shot on the baseline. Okay, now this is life. You talk about things that happen in real life. It's not me calling them out. So. But that's why I talked to Pablos about this, because in my head when I'm watching a game, I'm noticing when a person or a player doesn't contest a shot. That's the first thing I notice as a person who knows how the game works. So when you guys are sometimes in a game, maybe we tell you something that gives you the feedback. We wanted Jaden to know exactly how this works. I don't want you to guess how we're evaluating you. We wanted him to know. Last thing we talked about was playmaking. Okay? For us, we evaluated playmaking 3 ways. Did he create and maintain an advantage? Meaning, he comes off a pick and roll, he gets the person on his hip or on his back. Did he create an advantage with how he came off the screen? Or did he attack a closeout properly and get the person on his hip? That's creating an advantage. Did he maintain the advantage? In other words, he's got the person on his hip. Did he keep them there and go finish or create a shot for somebody else? Or did he banana out, pull the ball out, get into a size-up dribble, and let the defense get back in front? Okay, so reads. We graded him on his reads. Did you punish the coverage? Coach Ben showed you how they were attacking switches in his scout. We wanted these players have to know, how do we attack switches? How do we attack traps? They have to know that stuff. How do we attack deep drop? You saw that in Coach Ben's presentation. So that's part of being a great player too, is how do I attack the coverage that's being given to me? Lastly, how did you finish the play? Did you create, going back to Coach Devin's point, did you create a high value shot for yourself or for somebody else? That is the goal of every offensive possession, that you have a great shot, right? So this is how we gave Jaden the ability to grade himself so that he could evaluate himself, and then we went from there. I'm going to show you and I'll let this play. This is just an example. You're going to see, this is like a player development video that we would do every month for these players, but I'll let you see the Mavs separated into 6 different categories, but I'll just let it play. Here's ball handling. So what we were told to do by the Mavs is we wanted to show the drill that we did, that we were working on, and you're seeing here, pound dribble right there, hostage dribble, and then we wanted to show them using that in a crowd. So here, he's working on his eye steps and different isolation stuff. Okay, footwork, eye step back into a shot to create some space, and here it is in a game, the step back, using that to create some space as well. So a lot of the things that we worked on, but you can see there for us, if I was grading him, you see here, he's creating some space here, getting to that shot, he's on balance, it's a little bit of a contest. We gave him a 3 on that as far as a grade. Here, another eye step, but you see he's off balance, see how his legs are up in the air off one leg. We didn't get to the paint. It's early in the shot clock, so for this, I gave him a 2 on that 4-point scale. It's early in the clock, you didn't get to the paint, you're off balance, it's heavily contested. This is a bad shot. I just want y'all to see kind of how we graded him based on that thing I showed you. And we would let him debate it. Even though he made it, he got a 2 on that. Here's different stuff off eye step, cross, get into his shot. Okay? Absolutely, absolutely. Exciting. Here is working off the pass. Okay? So we got pocket passes, and then relocation to 3. So main thing I want you to get out of this is that we are working on a skill. Here's different things, working on the pocket pass, on a pick and roll. Okay? Then he gets to his finishes. I want you to see that we're working on these things intentionally. Here he comes off a pick and roll. Late pocket. Okay? The other kind of passes out of pick and roll. Skip passes, you see there. One-handed skip passes. Now he's coming off the pick and roll right here. Reads it. One-handed skip pass, reads the help. That's a good playmate. Okay? So you see here, as we watch it here, I give him a 4, playmaking 4, meaning the best score he can get because he's making the right read. He creates an advantage here, gets the guy on his back, on his hip. He's got an advantage, he forces 2 people to guard him, and now he's reading the help. This guy's rolling, he's engaging 2, he's reading the tag pulls in, that means this guy's the right read to hit it to. There's your shot, that's a high quality shot. That's why we gave him a 4. Doesn't matter that guy missed the shot, and that's Tyler Dorsey, for all you even know about him. But that is how we graded him on that playmaking. Okay? I'll let these play a little bit so you can see it. This is a different read. This time he gets blitzed or trapped, so he splits it. And then he makes a great paint read out. We gave him a 4 on this. There's Tyler Dorsey again. So you see here coming off that point action, you just worked on. The goal with me showing you this edit is this. We work on the stuff that he does in the game. That's why I want you to see this video. What he's just doing right here in the game, he just did a second ago in that clip. He came off the point action, he came off the screen, and he read it, and then we work on the different reads off of that. Okay? Again, off the point action here, a different read before they blitzed. Here he attacks the blitz, we attack the short roll, we get a good shot, we attack paint. Okay? Tommy, today, remember, they were trapping us at the end of the game, pulled you over, and I said, hey, they're putting pressure on us, and you hit that shot, that three. I said, attack the paint, right? Because they're displaced. Again, this is why. When they pressure you here, right, they're spread out. Now they're on the run. Better to attack the paint while the defense is disorganized. Always attack the paint while the defense is disorganized. You get really good shots, okay? The other area, scoring and shooting, okay? Finishing in the low paint. Again, I just want you to see this is a bump finish series that he's working on. And now as he attacks downhill, bump, finish, okay? But he gets blocked. There's a bump stride playing off 2 feet. It's one thing we worked on with Jaden, bump stride. So when you're getting contact with your bump stride, he's off 2 feet, he gets fouled. Here's a bump swing step, or sometimes Euro. Boom, gets overplayed, swing step. Bump Euro, gets overplayed. So you're seeing we're working on these skills with him. As he gets downhill, there's a Euro step. Defense is in his chest, we're reading it. Here, again, Euro step to a pass. Okay, shooting. So slideaways. Okay, one thing we talk about, spacing. You see this blue line in our court. We call it the 4-point line. Okay, with you guys that I practiced with the 08s in New York, we talked about backing up and being at that volleyball line for the high school court. This is the kind of spacing we want to make sure our guys work on so they can step into their shot. We want them to step into a shot. We don't want them to hug the line. We want them to step downhill into his shot every time. Okay? So you see here, see him spacing right here to that 4-point line, like we work on. Downhill into his shot. Good balance. Guys are flying at him. He's shot ready. See him here, right here, 4-point line. Deep range. Okay? This is a tough shot for him. Late clock. Sometimes players make coaches look smart. So that is kind of the idea here about how we work on it. Here's screening and spacing. So I want you to see that there's so many parts of the game. Okay? Here, drive, kick, relocate. We work on this every day with our players. When you drive and kick, you've got to relocate. Now he gets to the paint, he creates for somebody else. Look how him relocate, just like Steph Curry. That's when he's the most open. Okay? Some of you guys, with our group, we said, I want you to get 3 pieces of paint. I do that on purpose because I want the players to get used to attack the paint and get out and create space for the next person. Okay? That's all I have for tonight. Anybody have any questions about Jaden Hartley or anything that we've done with him? Okay? Appreciate you.